Welcome back to the show, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I am now joined by Sonia Jhas, a health and wellness expert. Sonia, how are you this morning?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. It's such a pleasure to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
Joining us all the way out here in Casper, Wyoming. The pleasure is ours. Now, like I said, a health and wellness expert. Now, Sonia, in isolation, it can be kind of tough with no gyms being open, maybe limited equipment. How is it possible to find the best regimens for individuals at home?
You know, the struggle is so real for all of us. I think, isolation is hard in general, but then you look at having constant access to the fridge, the pantry, you're stressed. I think it's just a really strong culmination of a lot of factors that make focusing on health and wellness feel particularly challenging. What I will say, though, is, we kind of go through sort of the different ebbs and flows. And I feel like now that we've been doing this for a few weeks, we're sort of in the regime. We kind of get it now. We know what we're dealing with. And I think for most people, the struggle is really around food. Working out is obviously really important, but I think the food piece of the equation is where people really just don't know how hardcore do they need to be to not rack up those pounds so that by the time this is all over, they're no longer able to fit into their clothes. And what I found is to, really start simple and start with the basics. I think for a lot of us, it's easy to say, you know what, I'm going to be super hardcore. I'm not going to eat carbs anymore. I'm not doing sugar anymore. I'm going to work out 7 days a week. And that's how I'm going to get through this. But that's not practical. And that's the easiest way for us to find that we, get on the wagon and then fall off the wagon and then get on the wagon and fall off the wagon. So how can you make it simple for yourself and just start to create a really small and positive snowball effect? Can you start with something as simple as committing to drink 2 liters of water a day? It sounds so basic and so boring, but something as simple as that can really not only change your body and how it functions, because water is key for the metabolism and for you to just really be able to absorb nutrients, but also it gives you that constant sort of daily reminder that you're doing something positive. And then from the water, can you then move on to focusing on maybe moving your body a few times a week, 20 minutes a day even, whether that's walking, whether that's running, whether that is doing, a workout in your house. It doesn't need to be complicated, but what I will say is try to find something that you don't hate. A lot of people, when they think about this whole isolation phase, are like, suddenly I'm going to become a runner because that's the only way to be fit. And when they really think about it, though, they kind of hate running. And so if you can actually find physical activity that you can do a few times a week that doesn't suck your soul, that's probably a better way to, again, create a harmonious ecosystem for your body and for your mind. And then in addition to that, I would say trying to do kind of like an 80-20 split when it comes to food. So 80% of the time, striving to eat, wholesome, healthy foods, food that is less processed, focusing on, healthy protein, good quality fat to keep yourself full so that you're not snacking every time you kind of look around and look at the kitchen. But at the same time, then, giving yourself that fun and flexibility 20% of the time so that you're not, punishing yourself and unnecessarily keeping yourself in this like really tightly controlled regime that then forces you to fall off the wagon because suddenly you find a bag of chips and you eat the whole thing. So finding that balance and that moderation, like have a little bit of fun, but how can you keep things in control 80% of the time so that you feel like you're taking steps forward and really making progress?
Sonia, that was dang near 5 minutes of solid, hardcore tips. That was fantastic. We really appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
It's still really hard, though. If you try to follow that, it could be hard some days, could be easier other days. What are some true good words of advice to give to people to stay motivated if they want to keep the weight off, if they want to stay on those regimens?
I would just say be kind to yourself. It is so easy to be your own worst enemy when it comes to your health and wellness, and coming from a place of negativity never gets you where you want to go. So try as best as you can to abandon the judgment. It doesn't matter how you've been operating up until now. If isolation has not been easy for you, that's okay, because we are going through unprecedented times where it really is hard to keep yourself perfectly aligned. So let go of the judgment and ask yourself every morning, what can I do today to make today feel more aligned with what I value, with what I think is important, and what are the things that will really get me closer to feeling like I am achieving my goals? Even if today isn't the day that I lose the 15 pounds, how can I make today a day where I get just a little bit closer? And you know what? If the mental narrative is all that you're really working on, it's the fact that you are trying to quiet down that really irritating voice that's constantly telling you you're not good enough in your head, then that is the biggest piece of the equation. So be kind to yourself, small and steady steps, and you're on your way.
Bottoms up to that. I got my water ready to go. I'm already starting my regimen live on the air. Sonia, thank you so much for all those tips. We greatly appreciate you joining us. Keep staying safe and keep staying healthy.
You too. It's a pleasure.
We'll be right back after the break.